Welcome to the Weather Insights Tropics briefing. I'm meteorologist Scott Pitney. Jeff Lindner is on assignment in Florida doing survey work for the National Hurricane Center. Let's get to the tropics and see what's going on in the southern Atlantic. We've got tropical storm Leslie now with winds of 60 miles per hour, expected to become a hurricane, moving west at 6 miles per hour. And then we have major Category 4 Hurricane Kirk now with winds of 145 miles per hour, moving northwest at 10. And then we have Tropical Disturbance number 1. It's actually dropped to 30% chance of development yesterday briefly, now back up to 40%. We'll get into the details why that is. Let's take a look at the tracks. This is Hurricane Kirk, expected to stay a major hurricane through Sunday, and then as it gets into the cooler waters of the Atlantic, it will be downgraded to a hurricane and eventually move off to the northeast, only affecting shipping lanes. Because of the size of Kirk, though, we could see some pretty strong swells on the Atlantic eastern seaboard there. And then this is Tropical Storm Leslie, expected to become a hurricane by Saturday, by tomorrow afternoon, continuing to move off to the northwest and will eventually weaken as it gets into the cooler waters as well. Here they are on satellite. This is Tropical Storm Leslie down here. Leslie could be our last named storm in the southern Atlantic basin. That doesn't mean things are over for the Caribbean and Gulf, but we'll see if anything else forms out there. But here's Hurricane Kirk looking very impressive on satellite there. You can see the eye. A lot of very organized structure with this storm as it continues to track through the Atlantic. And then here is Disturbance number 1. This is the remnants of a tropical depression that was over in the eastern Pacific. This is moisture from that extending pretty far north all the way to, Louisiana, the Alabama, northern peninsula of Florida there. And then this is another broad area of disorganized weather out in the Caribbean. Now, these two areas are expected to sort of merge into the southern Gulf. And again, National Hurricane Center giving this a 40% chance of development if it can get its act together. And even if it doesn't, it's expected to bring a lot of rain to the Florida Peninsula. And I wanted to show this. This is the surface map. This is for Tuesday. This is 12Z Tuesday. You see this front pushing through. This is a surface front that's going to be bringing some dry air, not particularly a cold front, but we're going to be bringing dry air to Texas, Louisiana, but also guiding this system off to the east. So again, that's Tuesday. You can see it here. This is the European model for upper level winds. You can see these winds very hostile here in the northern Gulf. So any further development likely to be further south in the Gulf. So this is a European model run for Sunday for upper level winds about 20,000 feet, where we see the steering currents for storms. So let's take a look at the model ensembles, and they are pretty much showing what we saw a couple of days ago. This is the European model ensemble run. This is for Wednesday, 12Z, and I see a little bit more concentration of signals in this area with the European than I did a couple of days ago. So that may be why the National Hurricane Center, at least part of the reason why National Hurricane Center bumped this up to 40%. We see pretty much the same thing with the GFS ensemble, although we see a stronger concentration here in the northeastern part of the Gulf of Mexico. But either way, Florida is going to be getting a lot of rain, whether this becomes a named system or not. You can see it here on the QPF model. This is the 7-day total. And along the Texas coast, could see some pretty heavy rain right down here around Brownsville, South Padre Island. That's while the system forms. So that would be early on, late in the weekend and early in the next week. But then as the system tracks to the east, remember, this is 7-day total. So this is from this Friday to next Friday. You see a pretty tight gradient of heavy rain out in the Gulf of Mexico, but nothing really along the coast until, of course, you get to Florida. And these orange and red amounts anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 inches. Of course, those folks have had enough, but they're going to be getting some more rain, but fortunately not with the wind. If anything does develop, it won't be anything like Helene. Would like to remind you that we have a Weather Insights website, and on that website, we have a blog, and I'll put this in the show notes. So if you prefer reading over watching, we got you covered either way. But I would recommend both because the blog has some information that we don't cover on the YouTube views, but does have some additional information there. But either way, make sure you are signed up for our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and enable those notifications so that you can get the latest on the tropics. And we'll see you on the next Weather Insights podcast. Have a great day.